All right, guys, we are going to get straight into the book that we're working on, which is Get Over Yourself. And I'm going to share my screen so that we can get started on our intro in chapter 1. And like I said earlier, this is an interactive conversation, but I am going to work with a presentation. And then I'm going to share screen several times so that we can go back and forth and have conversation together. So let me get us set up for that. Okay. All right, here we go. Everybody can see that. Liz, can you give me a thumbs up? I can see you on here. Perfect. Okay. So let's talk through the intro in chapter 1. And just here in the beginning, the thing that I want us to see and understand is, the components that we need to be successful is that we really, really need to understand that we are in network marketing, and network marketing is all about duplication. Because if you do not have a system in place, which we have been given our system, and it's a really simple system, and we're going to talk through it tonight. But if you do not have a manner in which, as your team grows, that you can duplicate your efforts of how you train, how you share, and how they train, then you're not going to be able to grow to the potential that you could as a leader. Because it's kind of like what she was saying in the book, whenever you start off, you just get started on your business, you're silver, gold, senior gold. In those situations, you can still touch most of your business builders because you know them, you see them, you have conversation with them, you might live life with them. But whenever you grow into a team of thousands and 10,000s and hundreds of thousands, unless you have duplication in place, you will not be successful and you're going to break down. So we're going to talk about that. So to manage a few is okay, but to manage an army, which is every one of you, if you've drawn your line in the sand, going towards emerald, sapphire, and diamond and beyond, then you're growing an army. So you've got to really get down to the basics, and you've got to start there. You really have to understand that you must do the hard things first. And I think that this is the piece for many of you. You're here with me and you are just getting started on your business. You're just going silver. You're moving from silver to gold, but you have some big visions, big dreams, and big goals where you're going to kind of stumble a little bit. And I want you to understand is that you're going to have to start now of training, doing training calls. And now if you're just hitting silver, or especially if you're moving from silver to gold, you need to be doing your own pieces and not just relying on your upline. And this is the reason. They need to see your face. They need to see you interacting with them. They need to see that you're there to help them. You've got to start building those relationships and really start kind of establishing your culture. So you really want to do those things. As your team grows, you have the systems in place for your team to be able to do that. You just need to start using them. So I want to talk a little bit about you as we get started. When you signed up for this business, you set a level of commitment at that moment. And I want you to ask yourself this, because a lot of what we do, a lot of what you are going to be doing as you grow, as you become a leader, as you become an influencer and you impact lives, you have to learn to do self-evaluation. And in self-evaluation, you're only hurting yourself if you're not fully honest. So I want you just, kind of think through this a little bit. Whenever you set that level of commitment, what was it for you? Was it just something that you could do kind of on the side as a hobby? Was it something that you said, okay, let's wait and see how it goes. Let me see if I get a story. Let me see if I lose weight. Let me see how I feel with the things. Or did you immediately say, I'm all in? And I really think that we all have a different story with that of how we got started. And I will say, whenever I started my business, I started as a supplemental business, as a supplemental income, because I had a full-time job. And I did not treat it as a hobby, but I was not 100% all the way in until probably after my full first year and really captured a vision. And that's just my honesty of where I am. I was thinking about it today whenever I was building this presentation. I would have done anything if I would have jumped all in at the beginning. So it took me 2.5 years. I have to think back, 2.5 years to go Emerald. I would have done anything if I would have been 100% all in from the beginning, because I believe I would have gotten there faster. I'm very happy with 2.5 years, especially working full time in the capacity that I did. But I think if my mindset would have been different, then my success would have been different. And so that's my big question for you. Because if you are all in, that means that you are working on mindset. That means that everything that we're going to talk through tonight, that you're already kind of there and you're working through it and you're kind of moving on that. So kind of think through that. When you drew your line in the sand, when I drew your line in the sand in Maui, because you shared with me and told me that you were fully committed, I'm telling you, the reason that we're sitting on this call tonight is because you have a whole new level of commitment. And you've got to know that. I feel like that everyone that is on this call and everyone who had me draw their line in the sand, I really do believe your heart is to be Emerald. And I believe that you're going to work hard. I believe, that we might lose some people through this process, not from the business, but from maybe pulling back and saying, okay, I'm not going to be on this team or this page anymore. I can't handle it. Or I don't have time for it, or I've changed my commitment level. I don't know, but that's just going to be reality. But so I do believe your heart on that. I do believe that some people were like, hey, I'm going to go for it and see what happens. And, I'll let you know that you won't make it to Maui next year if that's your mindset. And it's a fine mindset. It's just not the mindset to get to Maui in 10 months. But when I drew your line in the sand, I drew your line in the sand fully believing that you will be there because you told me you would be, and you made a commitment for it. Now I'm seeing from certain actions that not everyone will be there. And that's where you are, and I'm great with that. But when I drew your line in the sand, I drew it because I believed that you gave me a commitment, and I believe without a doubt that you can be there. But I need to know if you feel that way. But doing that, one thing that she said in here was that you are committing to have fun, you're committing to have focus, and she said in it all that you're going to grow the most in personal development. I added a bullet point of fulfillment because I really do believe that whenever you commit and you are all in, that there is this level of fulfillment that we receive because of that. On the fun side, I said, give yourself permission to have fun. This is fun. And if we lose community, if we become isolated, if we get really stressed out, over situations, we lose the fun. I think that that's why events are so important. Coming together in community is so important. Being here tonight on this call is important. On focus, you've got to put your head down and your blinders on, and you've got to do it every single day to be able to do that. The fulfillment piece, I love this. This is something that continues to drive me in my business and I want us to understand, because I do think that fulfillment comes after a period of time. I think in the beginning, we always have to help ourselves first. It's kind of like being, in an airplane, and they teach us that if anything happens with the plane, that we put the oxygen on us first, and then we put it on our child or the person beside us. I think that that's how it is in our business too, that for some of us, we really do have to take care of ourselves first. We have to learn self-care. We have to take care of ourselves in regards to our products and getting ourselves healthy and feeling good to where we even want to serve another. But there's going to come a point in your business that you're going to realize that helping others is one of the biggest forms of success that you can have. It's whenever you can put your head on your pillow at night and said, today was a good day because I helped somebody else. It's just one of the greatest joys that you can have. But in all of that, personal development is going to be your biggest piece if you're going to build this business and grow the team in the manner that you're wanting to grow this team. So let's talk a little bit about why you've made the greatest decision in network marketing. And I love the things that she said. You know, she said it's brilliant to develop a second income stream that can grow while you sleep. How could this help you and your family? And I really want you to write that down. You have stepped in. Some people, it's your only income. Others, it is a second income stream for you or for your family. But I want you to realize this was a really big piece for me is when, you know, things are going on in our life and we do have hiccups and life does happen and things. I know for me over the last couple of months, there's been a lot of things that have happened within our family that I've had to, quote, take off, if you will, to be able to take care of some things for my family. And every single time that happens, I think, thank goodness I don't have a full-time job right now and that Plexus is my full income, because I could never take off work this much. And that's what I love about network marketing is that you have something that it will continue to grow even while you sleep. And you wake up the next day and you have all these great emails because people are joining your team overnight and all that great stuff. But I want you to think through how that's going to help you and your family. Second thing is that you can become a successful CEO of your business while creating and living the life you really want. And I want you to write down this. What does a life that you really want look like? So take some time, write that down. I'm going to give you just a few minutes to put down some notes. I want you to finish that out as the week goes, but we're going to talk about it again in just a little bit. But I want you to put something down of what life can look like for you and what you want it to look like. Because we are in a business that we get to design our days and we get to design our futures and our life. And it's going to make a big piece for you here in just a few minutes. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what it's going to look like to be successful. Creating a business that your team will want to emulate. This is the first thing that you've got to realize. In the beginning, whenever you first start this business and you start asking individuals to participate with you, you are setting up at that point a team culture and a team dynamic. And as that grows, that is something that your team is going to want to emulate. So what that means is your culture, the relationships that you build, how you train on the systems that we have. You're going to be seen as a mentor in that process. So you need to know up front that you're creating that business. You've got to think about your character. You've got to think about how you share with your team, how you partner with your business leaders, and what that looks like. And I think the big thing for me on this one, and the only way that I can speak towards this is from a business standpoint. For many of us that have been in corporate America or have worked some form of a traditional job where maybe we managed people, I've seen a lot of a lot of Jules that I'm friends with that when they first started, one in particular, she built her team thinking that she was going to manage her team. And she had really high expectations from them, and she got a little bit bossy with them. And it kind of killed the atmosphere of her team and the culture of her team, because we've all started this business so that we can be our own boss. We started this for that reason. And there is a really fine line between inspiring and encouraging and leading an army of volunteers, basically, versus managing people and telling them what they have to do and what they must do. There's also a fine line between keeping someone accountable because they've been asked to be accountable versus pressuring someone to do something, especially at month end, because you're wanting your numbers to look different. So really creating that business that your team is going to want to emulate and duplicate. And that's a really big piece in personal development. So the second thing is teaching duplication. Exactly how to be successful. It's a very simple process. So you can go where you want to go. So what's your vision, not only for you, but for your team, and really being able to duplicate the processes so that they can go where they desire to go. This is a really big piece, guys, as you're adding business builders, to make sure that you understand their why they're doing the business, what's important to them, what their values are, kind of what their dreams are, so that you can help them with that process and you can help them be successful. So you have to take care of yourself first, kind of like what I was talking about a few minutes ago. So that goes back to if you're kind of new to this business, if you're working towards silver, or if you're silver moving to gold. But then your vision will be incorporated to the fullness of the vision within your leaders and their team. Okay? So I want us to talk just for a minute. Let me see. I'm going to try to flip out of this real quick. There we go. I want us to come back over here. Tell me a little bit about what you're hearing and what you're thinking in regards to this. Any thoughts?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. I know I fail miserably in training and duplication. I'm just getting there. And I think Laura and Susan are both on here. They're having to work overload and tell me over and over again. And then as I was reading in the book, it's like, don't spend all your time organizing and doing your files, but I didn't. And so I don't have them, and they've been given down to me, but I haven't I don't know. It's 22. I think there has to be some organization to start with. So that is my battle.
Yeah.
It's balance. It's being duplicated.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's very true. And that's I love that you see that and are thinking through that, because, and I think I've got this later in a point. So if I do, we'll just go on past it. But for a lot of leaders, where they break down is they don't follow the simple formula and the simple process. And they literally hurt themselves because they break the chain, if you will, and then they become non-duplicatable. So a simple process within network marketing is writing down your goals and sharing those, with a sideline, upline, accountability partner or whatever, and then working every day to meet those goals. There's some leaders that say, I don't want to write down goals. I don't like to set goals because then it makes me feel like a failure if I don't meet those goals. So then guess what? They probably don't teach their team. Oops, I'm sorry, guys. They probably don't teach their team to write down goals because it's not as important to them, because they have a fear of them is what it is. It's a fear. And so then they don't teach that to their team. So then their team gets a little bit weak because their team isn't doing goals, because their leader doesn't do goals, because they don't emphasize goals, because they have a fear. So then you go down to levels 2, 3, and 4, and those people aren't doing goals because guess what? It was never taught to them to do goals. Now they might hear it from an upline 4, 5, or 6 levels up, but because it has not been inbred into them, they don't do goals. You're not going to build a team that way. You won't get momentum that way. You won't get excitement, because one of the greatest things is either A, I didn't meet my goals, but boy, did I get close and I grew personally and my team grew some, or B, man, I nailed my goals. And that means next month, I think I'm going to be a little bit more brave and take a risk and do a really big, audacious goal, because that was kind of fun. It kind of freaked me out and scared me, but it was fun. It was an adrenaline thing. Now you're getting momentum. But as a leader, you literally broke the chain of a very simple system that's duplicatable, and you've killed the potential of your team and your future. Does that make sense? So we have to really work on our main points, which we're going to talk about them in just a minute, of what that simple system is for us in Plexus, and are you doing it or are you not? So, but I do think you're right, Shelley. I think we have to in some way get those pieces organized. And I mean, I think you've done an amazing job of organizing.
But considering my surroundings, I'll agree with you on that, but I'm not where I want to be. And I struggle with overwhelming my new people. So I hold back some, and they're missing little pieces. So knowing what is, and I think by now I kind of get the main thing. But most of my training, honestly, is verbal. I have communication, and I can't do that forever. So I know that.
Yeah.
And I'm already struggling with that. So it's like, well, I mean, I know they're wise. I know pretty much everything that I probably need to know about them. But I mean, even product use, I'm going over it verbally. I'm not sending a simple letter that my wonderful upline, she's on here. Yes. Has given me, all I have to do is fill in the blanks. But, just those little things. Because I think, I can just call them and talk to them. And I think that's kind of one of the things I picked up in this chat. At some point you can't talk to everybody.
That's right. You can't get to everyone. You just can't. And I mean, you're going to get to a place where you can't even talk to all of your level ones in one month and give them quality time, which in the beginning you can, but I get to where I don't get to touch every one of my level ones. Like I have to make the biggest efforts to be able to spend time with all of them. So that's something that we'll just have to work through. Does anybody else have anything before we move forward? Thoughts?
I just liked when you said, and she's talked about, or you might, the vision for the team. Mm-hmm. And I'm finding I'm having visions for people,
mm-hmm.
But as a whole team, like what's the vision of my team that I can have everybody buy into?
Right.
I don't have an answer for that. That was just a good point of thinking about.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I know for me, whenever I first built my team page, my whole vision, that's why it's called Gem Explosion, was I believed without a doubt that the Lord was going to bring many people onto our team that would be gems, senior rubies and jewels, and be able to move forward, and that we would explode and that we would impact lives. And so just the name of that team page is part of a vision. So just thinking through those things as y'all are building your pages and doing different things, like incorporate that into your page and being able to build that culture with them and share that with them. Okay, so let's go on to the next and let's talk through these pieces. So mindset. Mindset is everything. Let's put this over here. Oops. Okay. So you have to start with mindset. I mean, if you don't have this piece down, which I think for all of us, I was talking to a leader earlier today, and we were really having to break down mindset because we had some negative mindset going on, and we both had to like capture that and say, no, like that is not that negative mindset. I'm going to push that out. I'm going to replace it with good, and this is what I'm going to affirm myself with. And that is everything, guys, and you have to start there. And what I love is that we're talking about mindset so much in our businesses today. I know that whenever I started Plexus, mindset was not part of the conversation. And to know that it is part of the conversation from the very beginning now. Like many of us that have journeyed through this for a while, we know to have these conversations in the beginning, but we didn't have them whenever I first started. So it's really, really great to be hearing that now. So I love this quote that I found. It says, all that we are is the result of what we have thought. The mind is everything. What we think, we become. So you have to learn to reframe your words, kind of like what I was saying that we did earlier today. And guys, this is going to be throughout your time. I mean, it's just like whenever, I know for me from a scriptural standpoint, if something is going on and my life is kind of crazy, or I don't know what the Lord is doing, or different things like that, like I go straight to truth and I say, well, this is what I know. And like, I will speak truth. I'll speak scripture as to this is truth for me. And so that's what we have to do here, is reframe our words to be able to set it in motion, because our brain is powerful. And if you have not read the book, What You Say, how does it go? The What You Say to Yourself book. I always get the title mixed up. But if you haven't read that book, and I'll put it on our page, it's a great one to read, to be able to get your mindset set correctly. So what have you said today that was negative? Yes, thank you. What to say when you talk to yourself. I don't know why I never get that right. So that book is a must for every person that wants to grow their business. So write this down. What have you said today that was negative? I know that something was in your heart and your mind today. So I don't have enough time. I feel like a failure. I need to learn more before I can share more. I want you to write it down. And then I want you to reframe your words into an affirmation. So do that for me real quick. Okay, somebody share that with me. What do you have?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Uh-huh.
I said, I just cannot find enough time to do everything I need to do.
And how did you just reframe it?
Well, I have a couple different ways. I will find the time to do what I need to do. No matter what, I will figure out a way to do everything I need to do.
Right.
If that means I have to get everybody to bed and then get back up at 11 o'clock at night and work for an hour, then I will do that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Who else?
Okay, I'll be vulnerable and speak up.
Yes.
Because this is really hard for me, because I, sometimes even being at Senior Ruby, I still, looking back, I thought I would feel more confident or more like I have it all together. Or I know I've come a long way, don't get me wrong. But I just still struggle with the things the enemy feeds me. And like one of them today, and this is so silly, but this is just how powerful our mind is, and the enemy is always at work. But anyway, something was, I sat and watched someone do something today, and I just thought, wow, she's so talented. Man, I don't feel like I can cook. I always struggle, what's my talent? I don't feel like I'm gifted here or here or here. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have a musical talent. And so my mind, I'll just sit there and circle around that. I'm not talented enough to do this business, or I'm not business savvy enough or smart enough. That's just something that I've always struggled with. And so, but I just keep coming back to what the Lord told me, even when I started homeschooling. It was something that I heard, years before he brought it back to my memory. And it's the same with this, as if he calls us to it, that he's going to equip us for it.
Right.
And so I can't do any of this on my own. I mean, I have to do my part, but in essence, I mean, he's going to do it through me. And so I just have to be a willing vessel, but also have to retrain my mind. I can't sit there and just, you know, just let those thoughts, I have to take them captive. It just goes all back to our walk with Christ, you know? So.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It gets really hard. And I think that we have, one of the hardest things that I think we have is understanding that God has created us the way that he has, our personality, our giftedness, our, you know, our intelligence or lack of intelligence. I mean, I don't mean, you know, some are going to be way smarter than others, but he has given us and equipped us in the manner he has, because who we are and where he has placed us and the influence that we have on the people around us is exactly what is needed for those people. And I think that we quickly lose that because of comparison. And it's so easy for us to compare. And it's amazing that even like a thought that you had, Dory, that could have just started off as, oh, wow, she's really talented, can quickly turn into, what does that make me? You know, whenever at first it's just a sweet thought of she's really talented. And then it turns into this whole thing of judging ourselves. And we have to get to a place of saying, no, like I am good enough, right? Like I am good enough where I am. So I want to hear one more.
I hate to keep somebody else. Go ahead.
Rhonda, did I see you? Yeah.
Yes, I'll do mine. Yeah, so one thing I said today, and I say it just about every day, is that my team isn't being influenced properly by me. I'm not exciting enough. They're not participating because I'm not a good leader on the team page, meaning. So I rephrased it that I will find ways to influence my team, and I will continue to find new power partners.
Absolutely. And I want you to add to that, I am a great leader and my people do want to hear from me. So add that to your affirmations. I'm a great leader and my team wants to hear from me. We have to realize that what we have to say does bring value. So that's excellent. So next thing, she really talked through who she was and what she was doing in her life and all the pieces that she had in her life. I'm going to try to re-mute us. If you can mute yourselves real quick, that'd be great. So I want you to write down, what is your current kind of identity? Like, what would you know, are you a mom, a full-time employee, a community volunteer, a taxi service, a traveler? Do you have 2 jobs to pay the bills? Like, what does that look like? And write down how this business can change that landscape. So how can this business change the landscape of your current identity of just what you do? And then obviously my question to you is this business worth it? Is it worth changing that landscape? So one thing that she said, if you kind of saw the list of everything that she had in her life of a full plate, she said that she simply couldn't pass this business up. And she says, I decided to get a bigger plate, which I love that. But she became incredibly coachable. She was very, very consistent, and she became a recruiting machine. And she said that every month she added 3 to 5 business leaders and 3 to 5 customers. Well, she said a handful of customers. Every single month she shared with everyone that she saw. Okay, so let's flip back over here. Oops, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to flip all the way over. Let me go back. Here we go. Okay. Y'all, I'm so sorry. I hate whenever I'm recording and I'm messing up as much as I am. y'all's little faces are totally on my presentation, so I can't even see my words. Okay, here we go. I'm just going to do it this way, guys. So let's look at people buckets. She started talking about the different people, and that all of the people that we talk to, that they all fall into a different bucket. And we are in the business of talking to people. We are a relationship building business. And it's, the big question, and the big question I have for you today is, how many have you talked to today? How many people have you talked to today? How many people did you talk to yesterday? And how many of those did you share plexus with? I want you can put it on a piece of paper, you can jot it down. It might be 0, it might be 20. But the big thing that stood out to me so strongly as I'm asking myself these questions and preparing to talk to you guys tonight is that you cannot surround yourself with just plexus people. You're not going to grow your business. So if everyone you talk to was either a family member or a plexus person, you were not successful, number one, with your IPAs. You were not successful with talking to as many people as you can to share about this business. And, once again, it's going to be really hard to get to Emerald in 10 months. And I'm going to talk about Emerald throughout the time that we're together, because that's the page you're on and that's what you've committed to. So 10 months is hard, but you committed to getting there. And so if you talk to 0 today and everyone you talk to is plexus, then I want you to make a commitment tonight that you will change that starting tomorrow, and that you'll set some goals for you of talking to others. So we have a simple process, but it's really, really hard. And we've all seen it. And if you're brand new, you probably have already seen it. And the person that I'm going to talk about is Liz. I mean, she's not brand new, but Liz is new. But that girl is going after it every single day. So I know that she even knows that it's hard, because for every one of us, if we're running after this and we're working hard, we're going to see the emotion in it. And here I am 4 years later. So I'm looking at a Liz and I'm looking at a Melissa. And the process is still simple, but it still can be really, really hard. And I've learned so much about my emotion and not having the highs and the lows and the roller coaster. But it still is hard. And so it's going to test our emotions and our resilience. And I think so much of my kiddos, there was a period of time whenever my kids were younger and still at home, and I really felt like that I had to say I'm sorry to them probably every day, or I had to change the plans, or I had to disappoint them, or, I'd have to say, Mommy shouldn't have gotten upset. I'm so sorry. And do you forgive me? I mean, I felt like I said that so many times because I was a full-time mama. And I was stressed to the max, and I couldn't give them the attention I needed to. And a lot of times, just out of anxiety, they're the ones that would get the brunt of it. And I'd always have to go back and apologize. And I was so amazed at how they would bounce back, that they would always forgive, that they would always love, and that they would just move on. And I think that a lot about that with our business. We have to bounce back. We have to forgive whenever our feelings get hurt by a best friend who says no, and we've got to get back into the game, and we've got to move forward. So who are you at your core, and what do you stand for? Because that is the piece that is going to go with you throughout this process. And I hope and pray that your character builds through this process. But you have to remember who you are at the core, and not allow your circumstances around you change that. It's just really important for you to know your significance and where you stand. And that is a definitely a personal development process to be able to go through, to be able to do that. So let's look at our people buckets. The first one is customers, and they love the product. You really need to give them VIP customer service. You need to check on them, guys. So whenever they first start the products, you need to send them the chart. You need to send them the detox article. Hopefully you've already educated them on how to take the products and what detox is if they don't understand what that is. But always send it to them in writing. If you do not have those pieces, please let me know and I will get those to you so that you have those, because it's so important. But then as soon as they start the product, you need to be working with them every couple of days. So we start with the Slim, then we move into the Bio Cleanse, then the Pro Bio. You need to be checking up on them throughout that process. Their first month, you're probably checking on them, you know, the first 3 days and the first 7 days and then the first 10 days as they're adding those products. So you're talking to them pretty much every week, maybe a couple of times. And then that second month, you're still talking to them, you know, a couple of times that month. And then you can ease off of that. But you never stop touching your customers. You're thanking them for being a customer, for ordering a second time. You're troubleshooting with them. The big thing that you need to understand is that happy customers make really, really happy business partners. And so you always need to be taken care of. That one of the hardest things that I hear is when I talk to someone who has tried Plexus before, and as I sit with them and they tell me it didn't work for them, and I just start asking them questions because I'm so curious as to why it didn't. And just the few questions that I've asked, and I'm not saying that they're on our team, I'm not saying that, I'm just saying in general, they've learned more from me in 5 minutes than they ever learned from the person that they bought the product from. And every time that happens, I always think, oh, please don't let that be our team. Let our team really serve with excellence and take care of our people and really see our business as an opportunity to love and care well. So make sure that you're always doing that. Because the big thing about your customers is that they will be walking billboards for you. And guys, they can be your referrals. They are going to be referring out and giving you information. What I love to do is if I have a really happy customer and I will ask them for referrals, I ask them to put me into a 3-way message. Now they can jump out of that message after they introduce us, but what they do is say, hey, Susie, this is my friend Melissa. I take Plexus products from her. I always tell them, do you mind sharing a little bit of your story of why you love Plexus and why you felt like that we needed to know each other? And they will do that for me. And then I can continue the conversation from there. So this is your assignment. Who of your customers have you asked for referrals from? I want you to make a list of your current customers, and I want you to ask them this week how they like. What I love to do is ask them how they're doing on the product. I ask them what benefits that they are seeing from the products, and then I ask them if they know of anyone that they feel that these products would benefit. That's all you have to do. And don't be afraid to do it. So often we won't do it because we're so fearful either they're going to quit or they're going to think that you're crazy, but they're not. It's all in your approach. And if you're confident as you ask those questions, then they will receive that well to be able to continue a conversation. And what I would say also is if you have a fear towards that, guys, say an affirmation, write down some affirmations in regards to asking for referrals and saying, my customers are happy. They love our Plexus products. And I know when I contact them that they're going to be more than happy to give me some referrals. So make sure that you say those affirmations over yourself before you make that call, if that is a stress point for you. The next bucket is our business builders. And our business builders, you need to train them immediately. So as soon as they join your team, you need to start training them, guys. You need to do the duplication process. We're going to talk through that. And don't break that chain of success, which we've already talked about. So you talk, you add, and you train. And then you do that again, right? You share, you talk, you add, you train. And the big piece is that those first 30 days of a new business builder is your most critical point for them to have success. They need to see that first paycheck. They need to see that they really can make money with this business and that we have an amazing comp plan. So whether that's adding customers or adding people to their team. So do your best to train them well, to get them on 3-way calls, 3-way chats, and help them get to silver so that they can see their success. And then the last bucket is you're not interested. I love this grumpy little boy. Not interested people bucket. And guys, what we've got to do is that we've got to change our mindset. As soon as we hear that someone says, you know what, it's kind of not my thing, I'm really not interested in that, thanks, but no thanks, I've done it before, I don't like network marketing, whatever it is, you need to realize that these are our connectors. And so I want you to go back through the people who said that they're not interested and that they don't want to participate in any way. Go back through your list of friends that you've contacted. And those who said that they're not interested, I want you to approach them from the point of being a connector. Susie, I know that you said that you're not interested in Plexus, and I so appreciate and respect that decision. But as you know, because I'm sure you've seen my post, as you know, I am so passionate towards what these products can do to help people. I wanted just to reach out and see if you felt like that you knew someone that this could benefit them. I would love to be able to know. I want to grow my team. I want to grow an awareness of gut health, and I would love for you to help me to do that. Okay? So you just go back, you share with them, and you move from there. Guys, for a lot of us, this is a brand new list for us whenever we realize that we can go back and pull in and see these people as connectors. The great thing about that is if you haven't been doing that up until this point, starting now with your list, whenever they say, hey, I'm not interested, then you can immediately go back and say, thanks so much for responding to me. I love getting to hear from you. I completely respect your feelings towards that. Do you mind sharing with me a little bit as to why you're not interested? Hear what that is. Is it because they don't like MLMs? Is it because they tried it before and they didn't like it? Find out what it is, but then move from there into, do you know some people that you believe that this could benefit? Okay? All right, so real quick, I want to hear from you guys again. What do you think about that and being able to look at your list a little bit differently?
Melissa?
Yes.
Could you put that little piece you had about what you would send to that third bucket on the page? Because I think that was really good.
You mean what I just added?
Yeah, yes. Yes. What you would send to the people that are not interested but asking them for referrals.
Yes, I will go back and listen to this recording and pull those words for you.
That was really good.
Okay, yeah, we'll pull that, okay?
Thank you.
We'll put it into a script. And what else did I tell you guys that I was going to get for y'all? Oh, does everybody have the detox article and the chart for people to get started on their products?
I have some, but I don't have maybe probably what you're thinking of. Okay. So I'd love to have that.
Okay, I'll get those out to you as well. I do not.
Yeah, I have the chart.
You okay?
But probably not the detox article you have.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Anything else? Any other thoughts before we keep going?
I have a practical question.
Yep.
When you talk about following back up, circle back around to all the people that said, I'm not interested, which I think is that's a great, I had not thought of that. I am curious, would you consider that like a new reach out again, or is that just like a follow-up?
It's a follow-up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Melissa.
Yeah.
For me, I actually haven't had a lot. anybody tell me no or that they're not interested. I have more of a problem with people just not even responding at all. So I'm having a wording issue about coming around again and resending the message, because you can see that they read it or that they received it or whatever and just still aren't even responding.
Yeah. Welcome to network marketing. So first of all, know that is very normal for that to happen. Billy, a couple of things. I would love to know how you are reaching out, and maybe even work with your upline. Billy, who's your upline?
Brooke and Kylie.
Perfect. Okay, great. Work with them, because I would love to know, or you can even answer me now, whenever you reach out to them, are you asking them a question at the end of your conversation to them so that they can respond to a question?
I've changed it up a little bit. When I don't get response from one way, I did try with a different person a different way. I've noticed that I do end a lot with, would you be interested in either information or, you know, whatever that may be. And so I feel like that's kind of my ending there.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
As far as question.
So on those, it's real hard to make them a connector if they're not responding with you. I always say that it's kind of a tennis match where you hit the ball over onto their side and you have to wait for them to hit it back over, and hopefully it doesn't hit the net, right? Hopefully it comes over. And to have that conversation. So a couple of things is, if you are sending them information on Plexus and they're not responding, I would come back as a follow-up and speak about something that's not Plexus. So see if you can just get a conversation with them. So, and that's all different levels, right? So you have a warm market that are people that you know a little bit better, and then you have a market that you're just acquainted with them. So that's going to look different for each one of them, but try to just have a conversation with them and see if they'll respond. Guys, the big thing that I notice with Messenger a lot is a lot of people, Billy was talking about that she can see that they are reading it. If you are seeing that they're not reading it, you need to figure out a different way. There's a lot of people that don't use Messenger at all on Facebook. They don't go check their messages. They're just not social media savvy. A lot of people don't have Messenger on their phones, and so they never get things. So always be watching that. Like on my follow-up, on my index cards, I will put a note on there that they're, so whenever I'm following up with those, a lot of times I end up posting something on their wall. So I might say, hey, I hope you're doing great. Would love to get to see you sometime, or would love to have a conversation, or let's chat. And I have people in California. I have one person in California that I had been working with forever, and she doesn't check Messenger, and it drives me crazy. And so I'll put something on her wall and say, hey, I hope you're doing okay, or I sent you a message. Sometimes I'll say that, and then she goes and checks her message. So you have to kind of play around with that a little bit. But Billy, to get back to it, you can't make them a connector. You're totally right. It's really hard to make someone a connector if they're not responding. So work through that. Okay.
Melissa, I have a question kind of going on that. When doing the tennis match, I do that a lot, and it gets going, and a lot of times it gets me to think about what I need to say next, ask a question about like, oh, I don't know what to say. So I'm going to ask a question, and then they respond. And then it gets to a good point in the conversation, and it's kind of the closing the deal part. And I don't know, like, it's hard to judge if it's like the right time or not the right time. And then or I'll throw that in there and then they shut off. I don't know, how do you deal with that? Or is there a good way to like how long to go on with the tennis match, that kind of thing?
Yeah. So I will tell y'all, the best way ever to close is to get on a phone call with them. So if you are having a conversation back and forth, I always say, hey, I'd love to talk to you. Do you have a little bit of time tomorrow? And I will automatically give them my number, but I will say, do you mind giving me your cell number? Here's mine. Because I don't want them to think that I'm not willing to give out my number as well. But if you can move those kinds of conversations into a voice-to-voice or face-to-face, you're going to close the deal way faster. You have a little bit more control whenever you're doing that. Plus, they hear your heart fully and completely. You're asking them about them. You're encouraging them. You're loving them well. And you're going to close the deal faster. So you just got to take that. And it's hard for us. We love to be behind our computer. We just have control there and we feel safe there. But if you really want to grow your business, you got to get on the phone or you got to meet them face to face. It takes time. Yeah.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
Do you have, I know you send us the voice memos. Do you have success with those being sent to potentials?
I do. One of my biggest things with that is so many people don't even know that in Messenger we can do voice messages. So I love doing that because what comes back is they think I'm really smart. And they're like, oh my goodness, I didn't even know that this did this. And so I'm like, this is so fun. So I got to teach them something. They got to hear my voice. And then we can go from there. So it's really fun to get to do it that way. I get really good responses that way.
Do you go off the same scripting that you normally type, or do you do something totally different?
I will a lot of times do, even if I have a script in front of me, my script is there really just to prompt me. So make sure to hear your personality and who you are and asking them a couple of questions like, I love seeing you on Facebook, or man, your family's growing up, or whatever, or how was your summer? I can't believe that we're already into fall, and then share from there. Yeah. So that it doesn't sound too scripted. Make sure it's just you.
Right.
But any script I use, I end up putting it fully in my voice because it makes me more comfortable because it sounds like me, but then it lets them know it's me and not a script. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Perfect. Let's move on to how people fail. And if you were on, we did a team call on this a couple of months ago, and I kind of giggled through this whole process because I hope that I will do it differently than that one. But so the 4 reasons, and she walked through this, and I've added some information. Once again, it's very interactive. I want you guys to write these things down, and I really want you to evaluate yourself, okay? So the first reason is that they're not coachable. And so these are a couple of questions that I want you to ask yourself of who you are today, and this is you being honest with you. Do you know the system? And the system that we have in place is right here, okay? Are you a product of the product? Do you talk about the product? Do you talk about business development? So how we do the business? Are you learning those things? Are you taking it in? Are you being a student? Are you seeing how your body feels when you take the products? Are you learning personal development? That's number 1. Number 2, sharing. Are you sharing every single day? Kind of like what we talked about just a few minutes ago. How many people did you talk to today and share? Face-to-face, social media, phone calls. Is your list, do you have your list and you're making those things happen? Because you've got to have your list. So whenever I talk about a list, I'm talking about, we always talk about that 100-person list, that 200-person list, whatever it is, you're always adding to it. You're going off of that to do this. If you end up talking to someone, so you're at Kroger and you run into someone and y'all start having a conversation and you share information with her, you get her information, y'all kind of exchange on Facebook, add her to the list, right? Now she becomes part of that list. And your why is a really big piece of this. Why do you do what you do? What have these products done for you? Because you're going to be sharing those things, because we all know that that stories are what sell, right? That's what attracts people. That's what makes people resonate. So if you're coachable, Your answer on this would be, yeah, I'm sharing, because I've been told from day one that I have to share. And so I've gotten out of my comfort zone. I share every single day, even if it makes me sick to my stomach. And I'm going through that process. Next one is 3-way calls and messages. Are you doing those? Have you done any this week? Do you have any set up this week? Did you do any last week? This is one of the biggest areas for us, is 3-way calls and messages. If you desire to grow your team, to close your business, you should be doing these. If you don't do these, and if you've never heard of these, I want you to talk to your upline, and I want you all to start scheduling those. And then are you asking, kind of like what Stephanie was saying, she gets to that place where it's that close, right? You've got to ask. If we never ask, we'll never be able to close, and we'll never grow our teams. So this is the area of, are you coachable? And if you're not doing these things because you're scared, or you think you're too good to do it, or you have a huge fear, or you don't think it's really necessary, you think you could do it a different way, then you're probably not coachable, which that's so hard to hear, right? Like, it's really hard to hear. So you got to train with that duplicatable system. Often you don't do one of these steps. This is what I was talking to a little bit earlier. So your team is going to see that, and they're going to follow you. If you're not doing 3-way calls right now, if you're one of my leaders and you're one of my level 1s, one of my level 2s, you're not doing 3-way calls, I don't know, I'm going to spank you or something. I don't know, because you should be doing this, because I do it and I train it, and I beg you guys to do it. And you're going to break down the system, and it's going to be really hard for you to get to Emerald. This is what builds momentum right here. So you break down the strength of your team and the legacy that you could have had because you weren't coachable on that. Okay? So are you following the system? I want you to put that down, yes or no. If you're not, what are the areas that you're not following? And let's get you started on that. If it's confusing, if you've never done it and you're scared, let's get you going. Like, what is it? So that we can get you going through it, okay? Have you done everything asked of you? You need to be honest about that. And where are you not doing it? And then I love what she says in here, because she has us do that 100% commitment, right? It's on page 16 of, I am 100% coachable. And you need to say that. You need to write it down, and you need to say it. And you need to start doing the things that are going to bring you success. If you're not going to do it, then don't draw your line in the sand, right? Don't ask me to draw your line in the sand. I took hours to draw y'all's lines. I mean, I was out there 3 different days. Like, don't have me drawing your line in the sand if you're not 100% coachable. So if you're not coachable, you won't talk to enough people. Isn't that crazy to think through? Like, we should be talking to people. Guys, this week I'm going to be putting the chart out there of how many people you should be adding every single month to go Emerald in 10 months. It's a really, really big number. So you got to start talking to people. Wherever your hiccup is, you need to overcome it. And it all goes back to what drives you. What is your why? Is it a big enough why? Is it a gut-wrenching why that even if you fail today, you will get up tomorrow and you will do it all over again? So it really kind of boils back down to those basics. Like, why are you here? Why are you taking up this time tonight to be on this call? What is it that is driving you to do this? Because that deep, deep, deep down desire of those dreams of you changing your future is what's going to get you to talk to the people. I know a lot of y'all work full-time. I worked full-time for 3 years with Plexus, and I had to find ways to talk to people. I would go through drive-through lines. I would go through a coffee house, and I don't even drink coffee. I drink tea. So that I could talk to the people there. I went into the same place every single day so that they got to know me, so that I could build relationships. I had to find ways. I would go to the library. for my lunch break and meet the librarians and the mamas that were in there. You have to find ways to do it. So you can do it. Okay. All right, let's move on. The second reason, they don't treat this like a business. And so you see all these little hobbies over here. This takes just as much effort, if not more, as your current commitments and work. And that's what we have to understand is if you want to grow this business and you want to see success with this business, it's going to take some effort. It can't be seen as just a hobby. And, you know, any job that we have, there's some form of training attached to it, right? I know every job I've ever had, I had training that was attached to that. A lot of careers have training. Many of them have an educational degree that has to go with it. So for you to even be promoted, you might have to go back and get your master's or have to get certain certifications. So why would you look at this job any differently? This job needs to be seen just as much as that. Guys, you are setting yourself up. You are developing yourself as a great leader that is going to impact thousands and thousands of people. It's a ripple effect. And so you have to get trained. You've got to treat this as a true business that it is, and not just saying, you know, maybe if it works. So it's got to be a priority. It has to be a priority even when you've got a job today. It still has to be a priority. You're going to have to find times in the morning or at lunch or late at night to be able to do it. You know, if you had a job, I know Stephanie is a music teacher. If she doesn't feel good tomorrow, or she's frustrated, or she wakes up on the wrong side of the bed, she can't just not go into work. Like, she still has to get her act together and go to work because she's got kids waiting on her. And she is there to inspire and to encourage and to bring life into those kiddos. You've got to look at your job the exact same way, even if you're exhausted. So, you know, it's a big question as to why do we treat this any differently when this business has the power to change everything in your future. So you've got to give it the time that it needs. So she talked a little bit about our business hours, and I really want you to look at this because it's something that you really need to evaluate in the work that you're doing. And I did this over and over again whenever I first started this business. And whenever I really caught that vision, I sat down and figured this out because I knew for me to get to Emerald, there was a lot of work that I needed to do outside of my full-time job. And so how she broke this down is 80% of the time that you have, of the hours that you're going to work, if you'll put on your piece of paper, what are you committed to working every single day? Is it 1 hour a day? Is it 3 hours a day? You really need to make a commitment. Even if it's in the nooks and crannies, you have to have a commitment. So how many hours is it a day? How many hours is it a week? Is it 15 hours a week? Is it 10? Is it 4? I don't know. You need to write that down for me. So 80% of that is in your personal business and the work that you're doing there. 10% is in three-way calls. Hello. Those calls that you're not doing right now, it's 10% of your business, right? And then 10% is in your training, okay? I love this. I love this model because it really makes us evaluate, and most probably it shows you where you're failing and why your business isn't growing. Okay, so I want us to break this down a little bit further. So let's look at a 15-hour week. So if you have a 15-hour week, 12 of those hours are going to go to your personal business. And that personal business is talking to people, finding people who want to be your customers, finding people who want to be your business builders, giving them the best possible service that you can give them. So that customer service that we were talking about, finding those people that want to be on your team and training those newbies. All of that is in that 80%. So for you, in your day-to-day, did you use 80% of your time in that personal business? Sharing, talking, finding people, training people, right? Then an hour and a half of that time is in a three-way call. That could be anywhere from 3 to 4 phone calls of 3-way calls. Those calls should be 20, no more than 30 minutes. So you can get in 3 to 4 of those calls in a week. So that would be like 1 a day. And then an hour and a half of training and coaching. So this is training yourself and coaching your level 1s. Okay? That is a 15-hour week. I love how this is broken down. So these components, one thing that I just kind of want to share with you is that these components can be broken down for each day, or you can do 1 or 2 components on one specific day. And what I mean by that is, say you're saying, I can do 15 hours a day, 15 hours a week, 3 hours a day. That hour and a half training and coaching, you might want to clump that and possibly the 3-way calls all on a Thursday. I know Emily Roberts does this. And so her Thursday is kind of her training day. And that's when she gets all of her training done, the training for her team done. She kind of puts all that together. And so that might be better for you, instead of saying, wow, I've got to reach out to everybody, plus I've got to get in a 3-way call today, plus I got to do some training. For you mamas, and for, I know Daryl, who works full-time and travels like crazy, like that might look a little bit different. So you might compartmentalize those and say, on Thursdays, I'm going to kind of get all of that in, and I'm going to schedule that to where I know that that's what that day is going to look like. And then maybe Fridays are all of your follow-up pieces. So maybe you do that on a Friday. And then your Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday is truly all recruiting, talking, sharing, that kind of a deal. So kind of think through that and see what's best for you and what that looks like. And it can be done, guys. So looking at this, I hope that this excites you. But, how could this change your business? How would that look for you? And then here's your reality check. If working your business 1 hour a day, so I even broke it down. Say you are saying, Melissa, I've got 1 hour a week, 1 hour a day, so 5 hours a week. If you broke it down to that, 4 hours of that would be you talking, sharing, finding, recruiting, training newbies. That would be 4 hours. And then you would only have 30 minutes for a 3-way call and 30 minutes for training yourself and your team. Okay? So between 4 hours and 15 hours, you kind of see the jump between the two of those. So if you're working your business 1 hour a day, you most likely will not be Emerald by July 31st. That's just a huge reality check, because we know that we've got to be talking to lots and lots of people to be able to be in Maui next year. So what will you do? And is it important enough to you to change your future and start working pretty hard now, kind of sacrificing some time? And I really want you to make that commitment. One thing I thought about so much today as I was preparing this is, guys, if you work really hard right now and you sacrifice right now and you're fully committed and you say, okay, husband, spouse, babysitter, I don't know what it looks like, but like if I could have a night off and you do the cooking and cleaning and I'm going to do the work, or if I can have a night off and you do bedtime and bath time and, I'm going to focus here, or I'm not going to watch my TV shows anymore and I'm just going to record those and maybe, watch them all on a Friday night or something. Like, do something to work really, really, really hard now. I can't imagine. Just think if you put it all in for 10 months, like worked your rear end off, committed to that with your shareholders. So your husband, your family said, this is what I'm doing, head down, worked so hard. Do you see the possibilities for the future after that of being able to pull back a little bit? But work it hard now versus, that's kind of what I was saying a little bit earlier with my story. If I would have worked it really, really hard those first 6 to 10 months prior to me catching that vision, so much would look different for me right now of my business, because I remember whenever I finally said, I am going for it. And that was in an August, and I turned Emerald in the following March, or it was a July, and I turned Emerald the following March and put my head down and drew that line in the sand and shared with my husband, this is what I'm doing. And he said, go for it. I would have done anything if I would have captured that vision 2 years prior. So you are given the opportunity right now to catch the vision, to see what it takes, and to put your head down for 10 months and do it. And I know you can. I know you can. So do your own reality check on that, okay? I want to talk to you real quick. I want to see how you're feeling about all of that. So y'all share with me a little bit. What are your thoughts? Is that business hour thing, was it good to see it broken down 80, 10, 10?
Yes, I'm not working enough.
Okay. Can you take some time today or tomorrow, the next couple of days, to evaluate what you need to do differently?
Yeah, I've already kind of headed that direction because I've figured it out, because I'm not moving as fast as I wanted to, but it's going to have to come from the early hours or late night.
Yeah. Sacrifice some time, yeah.
That piece in the book about if you expect to build your business during that time, you got another. For those of you that don't know, I keep my 1 and 3-year-old grandkids all day.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm finding early mornings are more productive for me. But that three-way calling, trying to fit that in when there's not chaos is something I'm going to have to work on.
Right, yeah. Who else?
I like the part about kind of grouping together the same activities in one day. Like you mentioned, you can do it a little bit each day. Or Carrie Wilkerson spoke to that in a video I saw a while back about batching.
Mm-hmm.
She had a longer name for it, but where she would do that. And she said that works for some people. You have to kind of find out what works for you. That's more kind of the way I think, is that, okay, I'm in this zone right now, so I'm just going to do that for all of these, all the people
Right.
that I need to do that for.
Right.
So I think that's a great way to look at it, if that's the way your brain works.
Exactly.
Do all the same type of activity on one day.
Absolutely. Other thoughts?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I loved the breakdown of the days because I try to be organized. I feel like I work better if I'm organized, and this is like perfect, like broke down exactly how I need to see it to know what I need to do. And I also have a 1 and 3-year-old Shelly, so I totally feel ya on the craziness. But I think like 2 or 3 hours in the morning, and I'm not a morning person, but I will sacrifice the crankiness and do it because I think that's the right time, and I'm going to set the goal. So anyways, I'm excited and challenged.
I know you can do it, Nicole. I know you can, because you're so driven. So I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I just stood out to me was I need to find new people to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just thinking, Lord, if you know me, I am not someone who, when it said we're in the business of talking to people, I'm like, what am I doing in this business then? Because I am not someone who likes, not that I don't like people, I don't talk a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. Mm-hmm. You know that. I just kind of sit back, and so it just says, okay, that it's not through me, it's through him, but that's just an area I need to definitely grow. And so it's also under the coachable part. And I'm like, am I really coachable? Mm-hmm. I'm coachable to a point where I let my fear take over.
Yeah. You're coachable to the point of staying comfortable. Mm-hmm. As soon as we get uncomfortable, we become uncoachable, right?
Yeah.
So as soon as it's something that's hard, or it's going to make a stretch. And so, yeah. All right, let's move on because I see how late it's getting and I want us to finish out these pieces real quick because there's some really good stuff here at the end. Let me switch y'all back over here. Okay. So the third reason they are not willing to get uncomfortable. Christina, thank you for moving us to our next reason. You must be comfortable with being uncomfortable, and it's a place that you just have to get used to. And I will say, guys, it's mentally exhausting. It's hard. And so with all of this, I think it's so important for all of us to, you know, have some form of self-care, right? Of taking care of ourselves. Accountability partners are so important, encouraging partners. Being in the Word of God for me is such an important piece because living in a place of being successful, and that success comes with being uncomfortable and always taking risk and always building character and developing ourselves. There are times where we have to have some kind of a break. So I would love for you to think through real quick, like, what is your comfort? Like for me, you'll always see, I love my hot tea. That is a comfort for me. So that, you know, that is something for me that is a self-care for me. My quiet time is a self-care for me. What is it for you? Is it a bubble bath? Is it a walk around the block? I know tonight before we got on this call, I just went for a quick walk just to kind of clear my mind. So kind of incorporate that self-care, because living in a business that you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, you need to find some things that just bring comfort outside of food, right? So some other way. So don't hide behind, I got to get ready to share, or I've got to have a story, or I don't know enough yet, I got to train more. Don't hide behind those things, because it's so easy to do that. Because we're uncomfortable. And it's really in the fire, that's where you're refined. And so you've got to get into the fire. Bring your upline with you. You know, that's why we talk about earn and learn, or earn while you learn. Is you're learning and you're in that fire and you're getting refined and your character is being built. And when you build your character, you will make an impact. But allow your upline to come in and work with you so that you can learn while you're going through the process, okay? So 3 ways are a perfect way to do that. Opportunity meetings with your, that's supposed to say upline, not your spline. So make sure that you're doing those things. Go into management mode, because it's easier than putting yourself out there every day. Guys, this is one of the biggest areas that I see teams lose momentum, is because their leader goes into management mode because it's really comfortable there. I did the exact same thing whenever I started, because my character and my personality is an introvert personality. And so I am always uncomfortable because I'm always having to do things that I'm not comfortable with. So going into management mode was really easy than putting myself out there every single day and having to talk to people. But it will kill your momentum. And your team is going to follow your lead. If you're not recruiting and sharing and talking and meeting strangers and training and getting yourself out there and doing Facebook Lives and all those things, they're going to follow your lead. And one day you and I are going to be talking, because you're going to ask if you can have a conversation, a coaching call, and we're going to sit on that call, and you're going to tell me that your team isn't doing anything. And you're so frustrated with them, and I'm going to ask you, what are you doing? And how many have you recruited in the last 3 months? And what are you doing to build momentum? And because it's going to, the buck stops with you, right? So don't go into management mode. So this is your assignment. What is currently making you uncomfortable? Write that down for me. I want a couple of you throw out some things that are making you uncomfortable right now.
Having to share what I'm uncomfortable with.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah.
You just did it. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Who else?
Sharing my story makes me uncomfortable.
Okay.
Being vulnerable, whatever, putting myself out there.
Mm-hmm.
Talking right now.
Who else?
Talking live to people.
Talking live.
Either on the phone or something, as opposed to having time to think about what I want to say in a message, retyping it, re-recording it, whatever it is. If I'm calling them on the phone, I'm like, okay, this is it. I don't get a second, I don't get a do-over. And I tend to get tongue-tied when I'm talking to people. So that's where I'm uncomfortable.
Okay. Who else?
When I see people on my team doing things that I don't think they need to be doing, bringing it to their attention.
Okay.
It's hard.
All right, this is your assignment. Everyone hopefully wrote it down. I'm going to add a thread to our page. I want you to go do it this week. So I need for you to write down what it is that makes you uncomfortable. And once you've done it, I want you to reply to your own comment and say done. And let us hear how it went. Okay? Everybody got that? Mm-hmm. Okay, reason number 4, they're not hungry enough. Do you really want it? And how bad do you want it? And are you willing to do whatever it costs? Are you really, really, really? Guys, this goes right back to your why. It really does. If you've heard my why and my story, I have a really big why, and I still do. And it drives me every single day. And my husband will hear me say every weekend when we get some time together and we're walking or getting to have conversation finally, I'm always saying, I've got to change this. I've got to do this. I've got to do this so that my team will grow, so that I will grow, so that I can recruit more. I'm always fixing myself. I'm always seeing the areas that are weaknesses for me, because my why is so deep and I'm still so hungry that I'm being driven every single day. And so that's my question for you is, do you want it bad enough that you will change the way that you do things and the way that you do your business and become a better you? Is it worth it for you? So life is going to happen. Kind of look at the last 4 weeks of your life and write down the things that have happened just in the last 4 weeks. And my big question is, did that shut down your business? Did it make you slow down? Did it make you stop? Did you not recover? Maybe you had something happen on a certain day that kind of shut you down, but you didn't recover from it for 2, 3, 4, a week's time, and it kind of shut down your business. You've got to be driven to have a different future. And so we all have to learn to work through that. If I just looked at my last week, not my last 4 weeks, if I just looked at my last week, it would be enough for me. I was telling someone I've had so many life changes happening right now that only one would be enough for like at least 4 to 6 months. But I've got probably 6 of them on top of me right now. But it can't shut down my business. And I'm too hungry for it too. So I'm going to make a way to push through those things. So why is your why not bigger, not deeper? Why are you doing this? And that's what's got to drive you. It's got to push you, kind of like what Nicole was saying. I'm not a morning person, but I'm going to suffer through that, and I'm going to sacrifice that because I want it bad enough that I'm going to get up and do it 2 to 3 hours every morning. So what is that that's pushing you? You got to be hungry to do this business. I was talking to my realtor this past week. And she was telling me, it sounded so much like network marketing, but she said that there's so many people getting into the real estate business right now because it's easy to get a license and people want to have their own business. They want to be entrepreneurs. They want to kind of have freedom of time, which realtors do not have freedom of time at all. But she said in 4 years, 80% of new realtors that are coming into the industry in 4 years, 80% of those will be gone because it's hard. And so it's the same thing with us. This is a hard business, but it's a hard business because we're having to change ourselves and develop ourselves, and we're having to get out of our comfort zone. But if you have a deep enough why that drives you, you will push through, you will build your character, you'll build your self-discipline, self-motivation to be able to do it. So when life happens, I loved how she talked about visualization, because guys, it is everything is to be able to visualize. And that's what she shared with us, is that she was able to see that and to be able to do that. She was able, I don't know if you looked at this, it's on your page 22. It is the second full paragraph, but I circled all of the all of the senses, right? She could taste, she could see, she could feel, she could touch, she could smell. You need to be able to see that and visualize that for your life and for your future. We talked about that in one of the very first slides. What does that look like for you, and how can your life look different because of this? You need to visualize it. I'm always visual journaling. So if you're not visual journaling, make sure you're doing that at least once a month, of sitting down and just visualizing what it looks like to be Emerald and how your life will be different. What will you be doing? What will your family be doing? What will you be wearing? Where will you live? Will all of your bills be paid off so you'll feel so much more freedom? What will you be smelling and tasting and different things like that? You need to write those things out. So getting to live life on your terms, and it's got to be important enough to get you to do something with commitment and consistency. So like we said, getting up an hour earlier, or making that one last phone call, or reaching out just to one more person. She said in this book, which I loved, we all have the same 24 hours. Every one of us had the same hours in our day-to-day. What can you give up to make room to work your business? TV, one night, that I said earlier, one night a week to not do bath or bedtime with the kiddos, not cooking one night a week, or giving lunch hours, nap time to your business, etc. What does that look like for you? But in the end, we've got to dream really, really big, and then we've got to set it in motion, do the simple process that we've been given that is duplicatable, do it every single day, and talk to the people, because I promise you, there are people out there that need what we have. They just need for someone to introduce it to them. And you're that someone, and you need to realize that. Anything that you want to share before we close out tonight?